Hi, my name is Ryan Canak. I'm going to be talking about the interview. What is an interview? An interview can be defined as any type of planned, face-to-face encounter in which at least one of the participants has a specific objective in mind. There are many types of interviews. I'm going to be talking about all of them. The first one is the counseling interview. A counseling interview deals with job-related problems such as stress, a job change, and relationships within a boss or co-worker. It may also deal with personal problems such as alcoholism, smoking, drug abuse, or family discord. The next type is the employment interview, which usually involves one prospective employee and one prospective employer. This type of interview is very important to companies to recruit and select the best personnel possible. The next type of interview is the exit interview. It is used when an employee has been laid off, fired, or quit, and is used in order to try to find the real reason why the employee is leaving. It is also used on occasion to help employees find new jobs when they've been fired or laid off or they quit. The grievance or confrontation interview. This interview is any type of one-on-one encounter involving conflict and its resolution. Examples of this are disputes over working hours or wages. It is important during this type of interview that participants express their feelings honestly and remain cooperative. The group interview. Group interviews are done with more than two people. When there are more interviewees than interviewers, it is known as a panel interview. And when there are more interviewers than interviewees, we call it a board interview. Both are good at accomplishing different things. The informational interview, like the name says, it is used to give or seek information. Common questions during this interview are exactly what does your job entail or what experience is required for the job. The interrogation interview, in this type there is usually some offense involved. Examples are a firm representative interrogating a customer in a case of shoplifting, or a police officer interrogating a suspect. It is important to try to remain calm during interrogation interviews, or both people may become very angry. Media interview. This involves at least one newspaper, radio, or television reporter and one interviewee. It is important to remember for media interviews to always prepare ahead. Make sure your comments are positive, clear, and brief. Be conscious of your visual and verbal image, and to never lie, because what you say can be used against you. The performance interview. A performance interview is a great way to evaluate an employee's performance. It's important during this type of interview to recognize and reward employee contributions, give employees feedback on their standing in the eyes of the company, discover and help solve communication problems, motivate employees by setting future performance objectives. The persuasive interview. Selling a customer a new product, convincing your boss you deserve a raise, or persuading your colleagues to go along with your suggested office rearrangement. These are all examples of this type of interview. Basically, you're trying to get someone to agree with you or your idea. There are three main phases of the interview. The opening phase, which includes the report, orientation, and motivation. The question-response phase, and the closing phase. The opening phase includes the report, which is making acquaintances and making a good first impression. It is particularly important to make a good first impression because that's how you're usually remembered. Being on time, dressing appropriately, and being well prepared are all also important. The orientation of the opening phase includes verification of the interviewee's name, the purpose or desired outcome of the interview, and what information is needed and how it will be used. Motivation is the last part of the opening phase. Its purpose is to motivate the interviewee and give straightforward and complete answers. The next phase after the opening phase is the question response phase. The question response phase is the heart of the interview, in which both the interviewer and interviewee have the opportunity to ask and respond to questions. This is where most of the information is transferred among both people, and after the question response phase is the closing phase, and this occurs after all questions have been asked and answered, and it begins with a summary of all major points covered, and also you try to set up another date in which you can meet with that person. There are many types of questions to ask during interviews. It is important to understand them all and know when to use them. An effective interviewer knows what types of questions to ask and knows what types of questions give him the most control and give the interviewee the most control. First type of question are open-ended questions. They're broad questions that allow the interviewee maximum freedom in deciding how much and what type of information to give. The hypothetical open question gives the respondent maximum freedom in deciding how to respond to an invented but possible question. Direct or specific questions are short questions requiring a short answer or even a simple yes or no. Closed questions. These questions limit the interviewee's choices of answers to one of the answers supplied in the question. Loaded questions, which are questions that have no correct answers but are designed to get an emotional of this would be, have you stopped drinking yet? The third person questions. These questions are used when embarrassing or personal questions. The third person interview when embarrassing or personal questions that may be phrased in a less threatening way by involving a third person. Verbal and non-verbal probes, they are used in order to urge the respondent to add more information to a previous response. Examples of this are, tell me more, really, or why. Leading questions. One of these questions will imply the correct answer, so they're fairly easy to answer. In conclusion, effectively interviewing involves both knowledge and practice. Knowing how interviews work, the different types of interviews, and what questions to ask allows you to become very successful and makes the communication process much smoother and easier. Thank you very much.